Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is John with Tommy's Top Picks, here to bring you your weekly flesh and blood market update, which I guess isn't quite weekly because I missed it last week. Tommy did manage to capture the data. He was, he got it all. So our charts will maintain some fidelity that we expect, but was unable to, I guess, update something or do the recording. I don't know why he wasn't able to do it, but he did get the data. That's the important part. So thank you, Tommy. Appreciate that a lot. And let's jump into it. It is a boring week. In fact, boring 2 weeks. We'll go ahead and talk about both of them. I won't have all the exact numbers because this obviously is dynamic week by week. So I did it, but I don't remember what the numbers were. But I did the heat map, and only thing of real note was that ARC jumped up to 24,940 from 7,250. That's a huge jump, obviously. It looks like this box finally sold. It doesn't have a sold listing, but when there's so few, it blurs it out. If you recall the way TCG Player does it, unless there's enough volume, they don't mark the sale history. Could have been pulled, could have been sold. We don't know the answer to that, but point being, we're now at a weird marketplace where 24,994 is the price, and I just realized some of these have pennies in it because I guess Tommy grabbed the decimal. I never do the decimal, but that's okay. Cool. So just fix that. Crazy price. Obviously, that's way above market. I love it personally. I think that's great because I haven't have a case. Reality is this is not the market price. Go look on Discord, see how it's selling. Eventually, it will get there. Eventually, that will be real. It's not really real. Obviously, no one's paying that price, but we use the same data every time so that we're consistent. That's how you do data. Other thing of note was Outsiders dropped down to $68. It was over the 5%, so it gets the marker, but it's not a huge amount. And Crew dropped to 2,500 from almost 3,000. This is those lows that we've talked about in the past. We'll look at the chart on all this anyways. For this week, let's just go through it like we normally do. WTR is down 13.4% to $60 from $69. ARC is down 10.46% to 94 from 105. As we've seen in the past, this is kind of where we've bounced off of a few times. So we're kind of stuck in that channel between, I guess, 104, 10 something, we'll call it, and 94. 94 continues to hold as resistance on a decline. We'll see how long that holds up because it keeps bouncing off of it. Typically with these situations, when you see a price act as a floor, you'll knock on the door 2, 3, 4 times and then eventually break through. It looks like that's what's happening on the downside for ARC. It will happen eventually. It will go back up, obviously, as supply falls out. The big question comes with power creep and card value historically. Will ARC Unlimited cards be worth continuing to chase after as Runeblades change, right? Like with RuneGate, the old Runeblade cards don't mesh with that, right? So without a desire to chase the old Runeblade structure and the cards in there, which I don't think is 100% true, just saying as a thought process here, then those become less valuable and kind of fade over time as there are new mechanics introduced, such as RuneGate and that sort of thing. Don't know. We'll have to see how the market plays out. No one has a crystal ball. Only other thing of note for this week was Tales of Aria is down 4.09%. This is first edition cases to 211 from 220. That's the lowest I think we've seen it in a long time, if ever. Let's just do a quick skim. Yeah, I think ever. Ever. Wow, I do have a lot of data, don't I? I think ever. I think that's the lowest Tales of Aria has ever been for first edition case. So 211, it's a discount. If you ever wanted to pick up some cases, this is probably the time. It makes sense. Ice is rotating out of meta. There really aren't elemental heroes anymore. We have Icelander still, but generally speaking, Elemental is rotating out, and she'll be out soon enough. If not this time, it will be soon. And with the new rules where it's a weekly Living Legends check, it could be any day, right? Like any singular event could flip Icelander out. and be done. And we'll be done with Elemental. And so over the next, call it 3 to 6 months, will probably be the lowest low you'll ever see on Tales of Aria, with an opportunity to purchase the cases at a nice discount. So keep that in mind. I forgot to pull this over, so I'll do it now. Good. So now let's talk about some of my favorite things. First off, sorcery is coming. I know we talked about it on the podcast. I know this is flesh and blood, but I like sorcery. So I'm excited that that's coming. So yeah, check that out if you're into a more casual game. Flesh and Blood Fables. I thought this was an interesting thing to look at because it's been a minute since I really took some time to examine them. The latest one is $48, obviously, for the rainbow foil edition of this. Shoot, I hate how the filters are all off to the side here. The cold foil is $144 and slowly declining. Not a great big problem there. I'm not sure this is used. Anyone, let me know in the comments if this Master Cog is actually used in a competitive deck. I know we're pretty new to these new mecha heroes, so it may not be defined yet. Plague Hive, the other recent one, $85. This is pretty used, or was used for a while there. I think that's pretty interesting. And then Light of Soul is basically not used, I guess, maybe in Bolton, so it might be a few dollars more. But these are the 2.0 fables that are, I guess, the regular functionals, we'll call it. Dynasty is the exception, being a Command and Conquer, which is a reprint with a new art, which I love this. I kind of hope they do more of this because I think this idea is an awesome idea, and clearly the market respects it. Now, reasons, obviously, 3 of a kind. You'd want 3 of these to play and be all blinged out. It's also awesome. It's also an iconic card, so I like this idea. I hope they go back and do it some more. The market is clearly reflecting that this is something collectors love. These, not so much, not a big deal. They are fables. I like that the fables aren't super playable for the most part. On the newer sets, I think that's reasonable. Even the older sets, I mean, Arknight Shard is not super playable. Just something to think about. I do want to see more of these locations because I like the flavor of this. If they can make them work, or maybe if it's for a PvE thing. A lot of people speculate that this Corsham is a great PvE card, which makes sense because it affects everyone at the table essentially. I don't know. I like the idea of these like auras or change the world situations as a means to add flavor into the way the game is played, especially with a PvE sort of element. I think that's great, and that's just how it is. Now, obviously, these ones are the high utility, Eye of Ophidia and Heart of Faendal, and will hold high value for a long time. This being the most utility, just because CNC is used by a lot of decks, even more so than these two, and it's a gorgeous piece of art. So, anyways, I just thought I'd take a look at these really quick. There's not much to report here. Nothing is really surprising on prices. Nothing is falling or flying right now. I will say that it's clear that these 3 came down. I know there's a point where I think it was Arc Shard I think it was Heart led the way, but then it cooled off, and then Arc and I went nuts. I forget which order it was in. They've all come back down to about the same price. Arc is still a little bit high. Yeah, this is how this market goes. It's something that you can just hang with, and over the long term, it probably will make no difference at all. So anyways, let's jump into the charts. Before I do that real quick, some macroeconomic stuff that I've been looking at in my job, as many of you know. I just realized that's cut off. As many of you know, I do VC. I invest in tech companies for a living, so we have to look at macro environment stuff. There is a lot of news about shaky job growth. Essentially, the number of jobs available is shrinking, and the unemployment is not really moving yet. But the fact that jobs are pulling back gets you to a point where unemployment starts to move up. when there's cost cutting and various things, especially when you start to consider interest rate refi. So think about big corporations taking out loans on a rate, or taking out bonds or putting out bonds on a rate, and then the bond rate goes up. They refinance it into a higher rate because that's pretty normal. Rolling over credit is very normal. And what ends up happening is that extra cost hurts their bottom line. So to cut costs, they cut jobs. You start to see unemployment happen. So far, it is happening very, very slowly. This is kind of ideal. Not what I would have preferred, as I said way, way back, maybe a year ago now. Actually, it was probably a year ago now. About fast crash is easier to recover from. Slow crash could lead to stagflation. It looks like so far we're avoiding stagflation because inflation is starting to reduce. It's, I think the latest, I don't remember this core number or whatever, was like 3% from that 8% we had, about a year ago or so. So that the rate of inflation has decreased quite a bit, which is good. Hasn't hit the target yet, which stinks because that means we're going to continue with this high interest rate environment, which creates these job loss situations I was just talking about with the credit. As that employment number shifts, as the number of job openings shifts, as the number of people seeking unemployment increases, expect to see a bunch of layoffs play into economic downturn. Hopefully we avoid a recession and it's minimal, if at all, on the job losses, and we manage to get that that inflation rate down to that 2% target. But this is an incredibly delicate balance. I was listening to Bloomberg News, which is a thing I listen to every once in a while, not that often actually, but I was traveling and I had it on in the hotel room. And one of the things that this advisor said, and I can't remember where they were from, it was one of the big firms like Citadel or BlackRock, whatever. She was saying that it is a soft landing on a tight rope. And the two hosts were like, that doesn't sound very good at all. How do you do a soft landing on a tight rope? And something about the saying was like you could fall off either side, and then it's not a soft landing anymore. And they just went on for like 10 minutes about that is a terrible way. Like it sounds very scary. Sounds very much not guaranteed. And I think it's accurate. I think that there's a chance at a soft landing, but the chances are incredibly thin. And difficult, and it will almost certainly be overshot and will fall into a recession next 6 months, year, whatever. No one has a crystal ball or knows exactly when. But even the top tier, highest data accessibility financial firms are saying, yeah, so far it's happening, but I'm not betting on it, or I'm not going to hold my breath, So there's risk factors. Keep that in mind as you prepare for the year ahead. Save your extra money if you can. Obviously, this is a hobby that takes extra money. So if you have it, you have all your savings, you have a savings rate you're doing every month, quarter, whatever, taking care of your finances at home, investing appropriately so that you are in a good, solid position, then use the extra money for cards. That makes sense. But otherwise, just save for a rainy day, because it feels like the rainy day is approaching. So anyways, let's jump into some card charts. All right, so we're looking at Unlimited Edition. WTR, nothing much to report. Actually, there's nothing much to report on any of these, but we'll look at them real quick. We do see the premium spike and this disconnection between the premium and the initial price there. So we're the case premium. So we are in a somewhat healthy environment, although the price falling off the bottom is not that great. I think we're going to see this across a lot of charts and a lot of ongoing things into this kind of recessionary environment. You're just going to see demand dry up. It's just how it is. And so expect that. These things are always a 5-year hold. We've talked about that since the very beginning, about the timing to buy, to get the lowest price, to hold for 5 years, to get the approximately 7% gain over time. That is the historic Magic structure and how Magic releases go. Flesh and Blood has not proven that yet. I think it will in the long run. It's a good product. It's a good community. It's growing. It's developing. Its competitive nature is driving card sales and such like that. So I think it has all the right things to get there. It's just too young to know, right? It hasn't been 7 years, so we don't really know what the average will be over 7 years, 5 to 7 years, right? So let's keep on it and watch it, but expect to have rough times in the next year or so as things bottom out. Those are usually the best times to buy. ARC is down and flat. Pretty nice that it flattened a little bit. We did get this little bump back up, but now we're back down. We talked about that when it jumped back up, that it would probably rebound, and it has now. We are looking at this floor, this 94. Oh, yeah, here's my data down here. This 94 as a floor. I suspect if we hit it a few more times, it is going to fall out, and we will see it go down to what other unlimited products are at, which is, in the 70 kind of range. Crew is holding its premium nicely, which is cool. I like that. Still doing this knock on the 76 floor. We'll see if it breaks through. I think it will ultimately, but I don't know how far it can go. And then we have our Monarch in the 50s range. It's holding a premium. I think this is more related to Dusk Till Dawn than anything. I will say that this is some of the lowest prices we've ever seen. Pretty good to see that. Oh, actually, that's Mon First. I'm mixing up the two. Mon First is at some of the lowest prices we've ever seen. Tales of Aria is actually not that crazy looking. It's starting to stabilize in a more normal fashion. It's the first time in forever. So we have a premium, and we're hitting this 49 to 50 range, actually on an upswing, but I would say it's channel bound, so it's a top of 53 and a bottom of 49. It will hang out here for a while. I think getting below 49 is insane. I don't think that has happened with any fab yet, so we'll see if it ever does. Something to keep in mind. If anything's going to do it, Tails will probably do it. EVR will probably do it. Those are the ones that are most likely because they have a lot of supply. WTR, yeah, it's just flat. It's down at these lows. We did talk about this way back when it first hit. This is kind of the lows that it held over the history of its price, of my tracking of the price. So I don't expect that to go too much lower. In a downturn, we may get a few opportunities where it dips low for basically the desperation period. People just need capital. They lost their job and they're selling a $3,000 box because they need the money, right? In that downturn we're talking about for next year, there will probably be some opportunities like that where some stuff will hit the market and people are just trying to move it, and you will be able to get discounted prices. That is a very typical thing in those sorts of economic cycles. So keep an eye out for that over the next year or so. If that is something you're interested in buying, I would probably end up buying a WTR box if we get a good drop, because the one I have, while I like it, it's in my bearish case, it is a little banged up. There's the cracked spine and stuff like that. So if I could find one that's pristine condition, I would pay for that, especially if the prices are low. ARC, this is that change that we just talked about. So before it was sitting at this price, that one disappeared. Then someone listed at this price, and now that's gone. Probably bought, I'm guessing, because that seemed like a good price. I wonder if that was Channel Fireball. Someone was saying that Channel Fireball listed at the same price, and maybe they just listed in multiple places, and once it sold, they took it down. Could be what happened. Anyways, now we're up at this price. Crazy. Obviously, the premium's back. Obviously, this ARB opportunity was never really that realistic, but that's where we are with ARC. Moving on to Crucible First Edition. Settling back down, not at its lows. Lows is 2,200 basically, but we are looking at lows on this individual box price. I think in my tracking history, this is around the lowest price it's ever gotten to. I do expect this to come down further. It has been drifting down, as you can see, over this time frame, and it settled. We got that weird spike that slowed down the drift, and so it's kind of cruising into a slow-mo, but I suspect it will fall off over time, and actually we're seeing that in this case price situation. So with this dip, I suspect the boxes will follow at some point. Moving on to Mon First Edition, it is tightened up. There's almost no premium, and this is the lowest prices that we were tracking, I think is what we said. So that is pretty interesting, worth keeping an eye on. It's weird. For some reason I thought, oh, that was Tales of Aria. Never mind. I was talking about two different things. God, guys. Come on, John. Get it together. All right. Tales of Aria, as I was saying, lowest price ever. Totally what I was saying the whole time. No, we're just seeing this downdrift. Lowest price I've ever tracked. I will see where it lands. I suspect we have a while before we find a bottom. But it's, $50 a box, pretty good, right? But I just don't see demand, right? Do you see demand? Why would you buy Tails right now? There's no reason to, unless you're going to hold it for a long time. And if you're going to do that, you might as well wait until it really gets low and stores get desperate to clear shelf space, right? That's the time to strike on that one. Everfest, fell off a cliff a little while ago, hit a stair, fell off a cliff even further. Now we're down this 214 range. That's, again, in that $50 a box range. I suspect this will also be a race for who gets to the lowest first between Tails and EVR. Onto the 2.0 products, we've hit a floor here, bounced around, sitting solid. The premium is starting to get close to the price. Instead of having this ARB opportunity that's been pretty wide for a while, we're starting to get into that alignment phase with UPR. Will be interesting to see that play out. The other ones ended up doing it quicker. I think we talked about this, like the market kind of figured out how 2.0 worked a little bit quicker, holding steady in these 70 box sort of range, with the premium being an ARB opportunity, i.e. There is no premium for the cases. And we're seeing for Outsiders, the price fell off, but the premium is intact. It's pretty interesting. This one has been pretty steady on the case structure, but the price on the boxes has had a lot of volatility. That's fascinating. I guess it's just the range. So what I was looking at is this dotted line is divided by 4, right? It's just this price divided by 4. And you see how muted that jump is compared to this? And it's because this auto ranges, the chart auto ranges. So 94, 92, 99. I don't know what that number is, 3 something. Let's see if I can get it to show up. Nah, it's not showing up. There we go, 305. So it's a $13 range, but it's so tall on here. Whereas it's very muted. But it's that 13 divided by 4. I guess it's because it's only a couple of... I mean, it makes sense. It's funny that it's so muted and this price is so volatile by comparison. Even though if you look at them side by side, their volatility kind of matches. It's just interesting. I don't know. I'm a nerd about this stuff. Anyways, price fell off for the Outsiders. We do have a premium. I think it's the only product we get that premium with. Everything else has this ARB opportunity situation. That we always see with these 2.0 products. So Outsiders first to get the premium. Yeah, and they're all just sitting in this ARB opportunity. What it means is 2.0 does not do the case equals gamblers bonus. It's just not seen that way. It means the valuable cards in that sit solid. They don't go up as quick. I think it's designed that way. It's for accessibility for players. I think that's the goal. We'll see if they do a 3.0 and change the way things work. We'll know that they didn't like this. But as it is right now, all 2.0 products basically operate with a discount for bulk for buying a case. Which is actually standard in most industries. You get a discount at scale. If you buy 10,000 units of a widget, you usually get a unit discount to a very, very cheap price versus buying 5 units of a widget, right? That's very standard in everything but cards. Cards, it's typically because the gambler's fallacy. The gamblers want a guaranteed golden ticket. A case will get you 1 guaranteed golden ticket, like 1 Pokemon card that's worth a lot, 1 Magic card that's worth a lot, etc. And so they will typically have a premium. We don't see that in 2.0 with Flesh and Blood, and that is unusual for this industry. So I'm curious if they're going to adjust to try to change that, or if they like that and it's more about player accessibility. I suspect it's more about player accessibility, because they've definitely made a lot of moves to help players get a hold of product. I hope you guys are out there cracking packs, playing games, being responsible with your money, and preparing for a little bit of a rainy day that I suspect we will see over the next year or so. And in the meantime, go out and see some of the world, even if it's just like in your local area. Go for a drive, go for a walk, go see some grass, see some trees change color. It's beautiful outside. It's great weather. It's a good time to get out, get some fresh air, and recognize that there's a lot of beauty in this world and a lot out there that's worth seeing and doing. Cards are great. It's fun to be involved in this hobby, but just, there's more to life than finance, for one, and 2, cards and hobbies like that. And so go take some time, hug a friend, hug a spouse, hug a child of yours, whatever. Do something that brings you joy and enjoy some of life. It's really worth it. And that's what I learned while I went hiking in Utah. Anyways, I hope you guys are out there cracking packs, playing games, enjoying this hobby that we love. And until next time, have a good one.